Earlier today, I spoke with Newt Gingrich on my radio program, getting a lot of buzz from the media. What was it, Drudge Report? What was the Drudge Report? What did it say, Tiffany? That it was a lot of turbulence. A lot of turbulence. I didn't think so. I thought it was an honest a set of questions. National Review came out and said that it was a fair and honest interview that was very revealing. I thought it was. If the caucus were held today in Iowa, 33% say they would vote for Newt Gingrich. That's according to the latest ABC News Washington Post poll. It's a phenomenon that I really don't understand. This guy is the ultimate insider. He is a big government progressive, as I see it. Maybe you see it the same way. Maybe not. One of the topics I asked him about was health care. Take a look.
You said if you are a fiscal conservative who cares about balancing the federal budget, there may be no more important bill to vote on in your career than in support of this bill. This was what you said about a new entitlement Medicare prescription drug program.
Which also included Medicare Advantage and also included the right to have a high-deductible medical savings account, which is the first step towards moving control over your health dollars back to you. And I think it was a very important distinguishing point. On the drug benefit, my position is very straightforward. If you're going to have Medicare, which was created in 1965, it was created at a time when, frankly, drugs didn't matter. There weren't very many breakthroughs at that point. To take a position that we won't help you with insulin, but we'll pay for your kidney dialysis, is both bad at a human level and bad at a financial level. Kidney dialysis is one of the fastest growing centers of cost, and we spend almost as much annually on kidney dialysis as the entire National Institute of Health research budget. It's about $27 billion a year right now. If we say to you, we're going to pay for open heart surgery, but we won't pay for Lipitor, so you can avoid open heart surgery. It's both bad at a level, but it's also just bad financially.
Aren't you starting with a false premise here? If we're going to have the Johnson Act, then we should do this. Isn't that starting with a false premise? Shouldn't we be going the other direction instead of building on?
Which is why they had both Medicare Advantage, which is the first towards diversity and choice in Medicare, and it's why they put in the health savings account model, which is the first big step towards you being personally in charge of your own savings. And I think that's your point's right. The question is, how do you manage the transition so it is politically doable?
But you believe, no offense, but you believe voting for something that is you're trying to transition into smaller government by also supporting a bill that has in it a gigantic giveaway. This is where we fundamentally differ. It seems to me, and let me just play the audio here, that you are for the individual mandate for health care, and you have been for quite some time. Let's play the audio.
I am for people, individuals, exactly like automobile insurance, individuals having health insurance and being required to have health insurance, and I am prepared to vote for a voucher system which will give individuals on a sliding scale a government subsidy so we ensure that everyone as individuals have health insurance.
Okay, that's 1993. Here is May 2011.
I agree that all of us have a responsibility to help pay for health care. And I think that there are ways to do it that make most libertarians relatively happy. I've said consistently we ought to have some requirement. You either have health insurance or you post a bond, or in some way you indicate you're going to be held accountable.
But that is the individual mandate, is it not?
It's a variation on it.
That's it. Okay, here's about Paul Ryan trying to fix Medicare.
I don't think right-wing social engineering is any more desirable than left-wing social engineering. I don't think imposing radical change from the right or the left is a very good way for a free society to operate. So there are things you can do to improve Medicare.
But not what Paul Ryan is suggesting, which is completely changing Medicare.
I think that is too big a jump I think what you want to have is a system where people voluntarily migrate to better outcomes, better solutions, better options, not one where you suddenly impose upon you. I'm against Obamacare, which is imposing radical change, and I would be against a conservative imposing radical change.
Okay. Yet you seem to always be, this is long-term individual mandate stuff, you seem to be very interested in the government finding the solution.
Well, let's go back to what I just said. What I was asked was, if a program is unpopular, should the Republicans impose it anyway? Go back and listen to exactly what I was asked on that show, and what I said I'll stand by, which is, in a free society, you don't elect officials to impose on you things that you disagree with. That we just went through this fight over Obamacare. Now, I also, ironically, I would implement the Medicare reforms that Paul Ryan wants. I'd implement them next year as an optional choice. And I'd allow people to have the right to choose premium support and then have freedom to negotiate with their doctor or their hospital in a way that would increase their ability to manage costs without being involved, but I wouldn't impose it on everybody across the board. I think that's a very large-scale experiment, but I think you could migrate people towards it.
I have another GOP presidential contender with me now. Full disclosure, Michele Bachmann, I have told you before, is the person that I would vote for if I were voting today, Congresswoman Michele Bachmann. Hi, Michele.
Good to see you, Glenn.
Okay, let's start with a little bit on this Newt Gingrich thing that he was on today, and I don't understand. I honestly don't understand the Tea Party. Did the Tea Party not have? Did they not mean what they said when they said we want an outsider and we want a small government guy? Or are people so desperate? Why? Can you explain the polls of why he's up, 30% now?
I think it's completely explainable because Newt Gingrich understands the language of the Tea Party, and he's saying exactly what the Tea Party stands for. And so it makes sense. So now the process is beginning of peeling the layers back and not looking just at the language that he's using, but what's his life, what's his voting record. And now once that comes out, it'll be a very, very different picture.
Okay, well, let's go on a little bit on his life. You brought that up. I personally, and I had a half hour with him today, and I didn't get a chance to talk about all the things that I wanted to talk to him about. But one of them is, can you trust a man as a guy